Hello, hello, hello. A very warm welcome to all our friends, viewers of African Rise, Africa Rise, fans of Africa Rise, stakeholders, friends, and welcome to another beautiful Sunday's broadcast on Africa Rise with Susan West. And of course, today we have a very interesting guest, Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki. And today we're going to be doing a lot of talk, a little bit of history going down the lane of history down the lane, whichever one. Right. Anyway, we're going to do a little bit of searching and trying to find out some of the reasons we're challenged as Nigerians, as a people, as a country. But before we do that, I will take a commercial break.
It's been a great pleasure being on Africa Rise and the fact that you focus on African problems, African issues. And I would urge you to continue. And I hope that more and more people pay attention to the leaders that you bring to speak on Africa Rise, and that this will translate into some change for the better for our continent. Congratulations.
Okay! This is your numero uno, and my name is Charlie Boy, the area father. You're the very one of Africa and the president of all frustrated Nigerians. Keep it real with Susan West. Yes, these are the channel where they like to watch when I won't get sand. You know?
Africa Rise with Susan West.
Welcome back. Well, you know what? It is Valentine's Day today. And so we try to bring a little bit of the feel of Valentine's to our studios. We do hope that you enjoy it. As you join this broadcast, please do the needful, which is create watch parties, invite your friends, share this broadcast with everybody around you, and make sure that many more people are able to join in and participate in today's conversation. All right. So remember to also share, follow, and subscribe to all our channels. It is Africa Rise TV on YouTube and Africa_Rise.tv on Instagram, and SWOB21, SWOB21 on Facebook. And right about now, our guest is waiting in the wings, Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki, whom I am super excited to listen to. You won't believe, you won't believe, you will be blown out of your chair, your seat, by the time we start our conversation for today. Koti Ekapong Sonny Iyamba. Welcome. You are early today. Welcome. So please share. Anyway, it is Valentine's Day today. Let's just do a little bit of, relaxing, having a good time before we go into the serious issues. I do hope that you have a Valentine somewhere. Everybody needs to be loved. We need to be loved every day of the week. My funny Valentine, sweet comic Valentines, you make me smile with my heart. Your looks are laughable, unphotographable, yet you're my favorite work of art. Is your figure less than Greek? Is your mouth a little weak when you open it to speak? Are you smart? Don't change your hair for me, not if you care for me. Stay, little Valentines, stay, 'cause each day is Valentine's Day. That's my beautiful presentation for you today. Each day is Valentine's Day, but we take today, particularly all around the world, to say to the people we care about that we love them, and we make sure that they know that we love them. So welcome. And now, quickly, I will bring on screen our guest for today. Welcome, Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki.
Thank you, Susan. I am so delighted to be here. Most delighted.
So let's just start this conversation first by, digging a little bit into your background. Growing up?
Oh, wow. Growing up, I would say I was brought up in a very, very, very clustered environment by a seamstress mother and a civil servant father into a very, very large family, maybe the largest family of Black African descent on earth. I keep saying that when you have first cousins measuring 4,000 to 5,000, and you have an enlarged family of close to 150,000, all of them still bearing the same name with direct primogeniture from one same person, that is a huge family. That is the Obaseki family. My grandfather alone had 11 wives and 56 children. And so even if all the children had only five kids, that would be 56 times 5. That is the amount of first cousins you're going to get. So,
right.
When you have that sense of patrimony, you are not allowed to do this tradition, a lot of do's and don'ts. You have brothers and sisters and cousins and second cousins, third cousins spread around all the nooks and crannies of Mother Earth. And I come from a family large enough to holds conventions of family members across 3 time zones in the world. We have one every 2 years in the UK, one every 2 years in the United States, and we congregate as if we are a tribe. So I keep telling people that Obasekis, we are not really a family. We are actually a clan. So so a clan within the Edo tribe. We even have our own peculiar greeting that is different from every other person within the larger Edo nation. I'm not stopping there. The Obaseki family also has its own anthem. If I start it now, anybody who is an Obaseki will join me. Obaseki, that is our anthem. So that is how peculiarly homogeneous the family is. And it is that brought me up. Also, because of the large background, I had step-mothers and step-grandmothers who were from very different, variegated backgrounds. So I speak Yoruba, I speak Hausa, I speak Igbo, I speak Urobo, I speak Bini, I speak Esan, I speak Ika, all not learned from visiting those places, or learned from within my large grandfather's compound. So that is what brought me. That is the kind of background I grew up with. And I went to very many primary schools because my father was moving from one place to the other. And so I went to Unity School, Agbaro, which was then a select school that was founded by the late General Dr. Samuel Obemudia when he was governor of the old Midwest state, of the old Bendel state. And then I went to University of Benin, where I had my first degree. I went to University of Ibadan, where I had my master's, my PhD, my first PhD. And I've never been unemployed in my life. I left school at the age of barely 19, going on 20. So by the time I finished youth service, the then Vice Chancellor of the University of Benin, Grace Adele Williams, had a car waiting for me as I left youth service at the Nigerian Defense Academy in Kaduna in 1988. And so by the first light of 1989, at the age of 21 years and 10 or 9 months, I became a lecturer at the University of Benin. And I think many people say that record is yet to be broken. And then went into broadcasting. I've been in broadcasting as a kid actor in those days on Taste by Moonlight, Kiddies Model Club, Children's Time. And so I've been on television all my life since I was 10, 11. And I think to a large extent, many believe that my PhD led to private broadcasting in Nigeria in 1991, which was written after the collapse of the coup d'etat that was organized by Major Gideon Oka to overthrow the government of IBB. And then I also went into some of advocacy. I was a student union activist. I was also maybe the youngest financial secretary of ASU at 22. That is the Academic Staff Union of Nigerian Universities. I left by the age of 27, 28. I helped to found the first private television service in Nigeria, DBN Television, and then was executive consultant by the grace of a man called Raymond Dokpesi to help put together the first 24-hour television service from Africa, AIT. I have sat on the board of AIT since I can remember, and I rose to become the managing director in that great institution. So my father is my biological father, but in terms of professional work and ethics, I consider Dr. Raymond Aleo Dokpesi, PhD, who is also a first of his own, the first Nigerian to be a marine engineer, the first Nigerian to make a first class in marine engineering. And that is where I am today. I've dabbled into politics. I was involved in the nascent days of Nollywood. I think my movie, Igodo, which was shot in 1999.
That's right, Igodo. I remember Igodo.
Yeah, I wrote and directed Igodo. And I think that was a seismic paradigm shift in terms of videography in Nigeria. I also became the first president of the Filmmakers Cooperative of Nigeria. And I've been around the world. I've taught at universities in Nigeria, in Denmark, in the United Kingdom at the University of Bradford, and in the United States of America at the Purchase College, Manhattan College, Montclair University. So, and then I also went into, I don't know. So in 2016, maybe a little fed up with how things have been going. I've been to jail during the Abacha time. I've been to One Radio Kudera. I was also, I don't know. So sometime in 2004, one of my major work, I'm also a playwright. Some of my works have been on school curriculum in Nigeria since I was 25. My Azagidi, Idia, Obaseki historical play. You know, I've worked with all the big names or those who were then little kids when we all started, you know. So I think that God has been kind to me. I've been married and I've had tumultuous experiences. I thank God that I have a wife who has been like a vertebrae for me. And if I die and there's incarnation or I'm reincarnated, all I just need God to do is give me back my wife. Every other thing.
Oh my God, that is powerful.
Yeah.
Coming on a Valentine's Day to hear this.
No, well, for me, every day is Valentine where we both consent. We're not involved in that all those little schemes. No, when you have a wife for 20 years plus and you've never had a quarrel, it sounds funny, but that's what it is.
Wow!
You know?
Congratulations.
So, you're welcome, madam. Thank you.
You know, when you were running us through your background, how you started, and you mentioned Raymond Dokpesi, and for me,
yes.
that was special because at the age of 19, the very first person who gave me an opportunity to work on television was Raymond Dokpesi, and I didn't go to. I know. Saw it. He just saw me and just realized that she could work as a presenter. She's got what it takes. So God bless him. I respect him.
God bless him. Very much. The tell me, enter moto, where we go Lagos. You know? and that was then he didn't even know he was going to start AIT. I still remember how we came about the name, you know, DA Communications. I still give that credit to the wife, Auntie Moji, who was running around trying to register it, you know, Raymond Aleo Dokbesi. So we came up with Dokbesi Anthony Alejo Raymond.
Right.
That is what that stands
a lot of people never knew the full.
Actually, it is his name. It is his. All the initials of his name, but started from the back. So starting with his surname, and the AA arrow are his personal names.
Right.
Anthony. His full name is Raymond Anthony Aleo Dokbesi. So we took it from the back. Instead of arrow AAD, we did DAAR. That is that. And the first radio station was Raymond Power.
Yeah.
As in Raymond Dokbesi, and that was how Ray Power came about.
Right.
I remember all those nascent days.
Sweet memories.
Kenny Ogumbe, yes. Thank you.
Thank you for taking us down this path. It brings good memories back for me, especially.
Yes, thank you. So at least we have a shared commonality there.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Let's now go into today's discussion, which is the topic of discussion today, which is the amalgamation of Nigeria, historical facts, challenges of the amalgamation of Nigeria, and the way forward.
Yeah.
I'll start by asking the question, what is the meaning of amalgamation, especially as it concerns a country, not a company?
Okay. Well, I would like to say quickly that even the use of the word amalgamation actually spells doom, because an amalgam is not something that we should be happy about.
At all.
When you use the word an amalgam, what is an amalgam? It's just a blend, a joining, sticking together of things that may not be actually same. So that is what it is all about. So basically, Nigeria being an amalgamation, you hardly see any other country in the world that was amalgamated. So when you write amalgamation on the internet or on Google, the first thing that jumps at you is Nigeria. All over history, countries have come together, combined together, joined together, some by the will to protect themselves. Others are annexed, that is forcefully taken over by one major party. There were annexations all over the world. Even in Europe today, Europe is a continent that is a history, is a lesson in the history of annexations, confederations, agreements coming together. You are in the United Kingdom. In the United Kingdom, many people don't even know the full name. Until 1928, it was the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, until the southern part or the Catholic part of Ireland pulled out. And the United Kingdom today, as we know it as a nation, is the United Kingdom of Great Britain. Great Britain is that huge landmass, which is the center of the ocean of the North Atlantic, and Northern Ireland, which is on the Irish island. So you have 4 countries, all of them at one point or the other as either independent monarchies with different languages. People don't even realize that some parts of the United Kingdom have independent Irish. The Irish speak I. There's Gaelic in Scotland, and Welsh is quite different. So those countries came together by design. The Russia was at a time in 1918, after the success of the October Revolution of Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, decided to take over all amalgamating lands around it, which included, Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, clearly, yes.
Yeah, which included present-day Belarus, which used to be known as White Russia, Belarusia,
Yeah.
Georgia, Kyrgyzstan, Azerbaijan, up to Vladivostok, which is almost 4,000 kilometers away from Moscow, or Moscow, you know, and they formed the Soyuz Soviet Socialistic Republic, which is the USSR, or CCCP, which is the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, which was a forced annexation as a result of the growth of the Russian behemoth. In the United States of America, the words alone say it. All of them were independent countries at the point. California was ruled by the Spanish. Same thing with New Mexico. Most of the states on the east coast of America were under the British or the French or the Dutch. New York, the area you call Harlem, used to be Harlem is a town in the Netherlands, and the first name for New York was New Amsterdam. And the first reason, but these are people who decided in the ending part of the 18th century to come together. So the decision was a decision made by those persons. The only time decisions were made to forcefully put together, amalgamate, join, stick by force together without a recourse to those persons who actually are in those places is Nigeria. So Nigeria is a historical contraption unknown to any other part of history as we so know it. So the Nigerian amalgamation of 1914 was done not because the people wanted it, was done because the British, I'm sorry to say because I'm a friend of Britain, I've lived, and my favorite destination is the United Kingdom, particularly Scotland, you know, but we saw them sit together and forcefully put together persons that have no
Network.
in Nigeria. And that is what Nigeria is all about. So the amalgamation of 1914, I keep telling people that I am very sure that there is one Briton, one British man who is in hell, and his name is Sir Frederick Lugard, who today we call Lord Lugard. There's nothing Lord about him. You get my point? So, and he said it clearly in his document to the colonial office that because of the need to have administrative conveniences and reduce the exposure of the British crown to the expense of running Nigeria. After the death of Queen Victoria, who was the Empress of India and the Empress of the British Empire, decided to cobble together different countries. People don't understand that as at 1861, Lagos was not part of Nigeria. That is the truth. Lagos was a separate entity which was colonized and declared a colony in 1861. And by 1906, when Nigeria had the Northern Protectorate and the Southern Protectorate, you had different countries. I'm not even talking about the fall of the native peoples, to use the word of the British, the pacification of the native people, that they were making us more civilized. So they felt. Meanwhile, we were already a civilization prior to when they came. The Great War of Benin was built 700 years before the coming of the British. Before the coming of the British, if you walk into the Royal Museum, you will still see where Benin people had guns with white people. They call them the Portuguese, which the Beninese call Portuguese. So when you say Potoki, the Potoki is a derivation from the word Portuguese, which was used by the Beninese as far back as 1500. So we were a civilization before the coming of the white man into our space. So Mr. Lord Lugard created the problem Nigeria is having today. Not even stopping there. People must understand that on that document, the document was time dated, that for a minimum of 100 years. So by 1914, by the year 2014 February, the Nigerian nation actually by law should have ceased to exist, except the people so wish to continue. And we've not had anything to make us, we've never come together to say, now so we want to make it be. Sorry for my pidgin. You get my point? So, yeah, so the amalgamation of Nigeria by Lord Lugard was a serious crime against humanity because he forcefully, for the sake, to use his own words again, administrative convenience, coupled together like a cobbler, like a bad shoemaker, coupled together persons who never had any form of historic relationship, whether you use a historiographic approach or a historiological approach, had no ethnocentric, ethnographic relationship, and put them together, 361 distinct ethnic nationalities were then coupled together to form the nation Nigeria. That is why we are where we are, and that is how we are, why we are.
Right.
It may also be good for, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Looking into the definition of what amalgamation is the reason I asked you that question.
Yes.
Now, with that definition, would you say that Nigeria is a company or a country?
Nigeria is I keep telling people that Nigeria is a country, but Nigeria is not a nation. There is a difference between you may be living in the United Kingdom. You necessarily don't have to be English, neither are you Scottish or Welsh. When there is a verve, a belief in a shared destiny, a nation resides in the heart, is a state of mind. It is not a geographical expression. But Nigeria is actually the situation that I refer to as reverse osmosis. Nigeria is a country, a place where the boundaries are drawn. Boundaries were drawn from the Berlin Conference of Otto von Bismarck, and they are still being drawn today. Nigeria is the only place where delineations are made without recourse to the people. The people, yes, Nigerian states are created by fiat, by the military, or created by fiat by the colonial masters. And that is what we face today. Nigeria has remained that very limping country in search of a nation. So right now, if you are in the United States of America and you have never been in the US, you come in as an immigrant and you meet certain statutes. Those statutes, you are made to go and declare to become a citizen. You sing the American anthem, you learn it, and it becomes a war cry. Nigeria is the direct opposite. So what we have in Nigeria is when somebody says, now my countryman, he's actually saying you are from his tribe, not from his Nigeria. So when an Urobo man says, Imonime, he's not talking about Nigeria, he's talking about a fellow Urobo man. So when Benin man say Obiebome, he's talking about his own Edo Esaman. So when an Igbo says Ndebai, Obodai, he's not talking about Nigeria, he's talking about Igbo. So what you have is a motley of ethnic nationalities who still recognize their nationhood above the Nigerian countryhood. And the only way this would have been done is that if there were systemic, from the very beginning, systemic things put in place to address that cobbling together, maybe Nigeria would have moved gently or slowly towards nationhood. Let me give you one small example that makes me very uncomfortable. As a young boy growing up in the 70s and early 80s, primary school, secondary school, I lived in a time where I was born just before the Civil War started. I was born in the Civil War.
Right.
The Civil War started in 1967. That was when I was born. My mom actually told me they were throwing bombs under the window when she gave birth to me. When Biafra invaded the Midwest, that is Benin City, Benin Delta,
Right.
in those days. Yeah. Now, in the 70s, we had the national anthem. Though it wasn't written by a Nigerian, it was the closest to pushing the nation towards nationhood. Arise, O compatriots, Nigeria call obey, to serve our fatherland. Compatriot is not a patriot. They don't even know the real lexical meanings of the words they used in this our new national anthem. But as a young boy growing up, it was Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though, listen to this, tribe and tongues may differ, but in brotherhood we stand. You get my point? And that recognized our diversity and how that diversity could be used as a strength to pull us towards a greater nationhood. But the national anthem we have now makes the younger ones see through the lie. You know, arise, O compatriot, Nigeria call obey, to serve our fatherland. We love and send thy labors of our heroes past. The past never had heroes, they were villains. If you say of our heroes past, who are the heroes? Is it those who turned the western part of Nigeria between 1963 and 1965-66 into a theater of war that we now call the Wide West or the Wet Year? Or is it the northern part of Nigeria where right from 1957, even before Nigeria became a nation, the premier of the northern region says that he will never employ people from other parts of the country because they have no place in the north? Is it a nation? Are those the heroes past, or those who took part in serial takeovers of government in the coup d'etats that suspended the constitutional democracy? Nigeria had the first coup in 1967, January 15th. The second one in July 1967. We had in 1966, July 1966. By 1975, Gowon himself was overthrown. By 1976, that is 10 days after creating 19 states, Moitla Mohammed was assassinated on the 13th of February. Or the overthrow on the midnight of the 31st of December 1983 by Major General Muhammadu Buhari, or the overthrow on August 27, 1985 by Ibrahim Babangida, or the stepping aside on August 27, 1993 of Babangida and the installation of a non-democratic interim national government who was forced to resign just 3 months later, or the 5 political parties who were set up by Abacha to adopt Abacha in 1996, 97. And in fact, I remember what Bola Ige said in describing those 5 parties as the 5 fingers of a leprous hand. And then the death in the hands, supposedly, of prostitutes by Abacha. And the coming of Abu Salam, who in 11 months railroaded us into this present-day democracy where the constitution was written by one man. So what are we celebrating? Nigeria is just like a dead body that had been awaiting its undertaker for more than 50 years. And there must be a deliberate schematic to save the nation. And if the country cannot be saved from itself, at least the people within the country should be saved from the bad cobbling together of Nigeria. Because it's the people that make the country or the nation. The people must be the recurring decimal in whatsoever we do. And that is important for us to understand. Nigeria is the only nation on earth where history is not taught. They don't teach history anywhere. And so our kids are unfortunate. So they just live on Facebook. Fortunately for me, I went to school when there was no Facebook. So I faced my book. So I went to school when there was no WhatsApp, so I know what's really up. But today, our kids are only just anything that is phantasmagoric, anything that is interesting. We just latch it on social media and run away with it. So we are a nation that is badly coupled together, and until that nation is deconstructed strategically and deliberately deconstructed, so that we can reconstruct something better, Nigeria can be a phoenix and rise again from its ashes.
Right. So how do we go about deconstructing Nigeria and reconstructing her to achieve nationhood?
Okay, I think this is first of all, you must acknowledge, for you to get a cure, you must acknowledge first and foremost that you have an ailment.
Yeah, true.
Nigeria must not continue to live the lie that we've lived so far, where the vagaries of the one man is made to supersede the yearnings of every other person within the polity. Now, I know many of those who are watching us are educated, so they will understand what happens in other climes. In Nigeria, we must adopt a negotiation process. In 1957, after the first time, in 1956, after Anthony Nauro first muted the idea of Nigeria getting independence, and the next 4 years, there were a series of constitutional conferences culminating in the one at Lancaster House that finally declared that Nigeria will attain independence on October 1st, 1960. And so persons representing the ethnic nationalities, I remember then all the likes of Abraham Adeniran Ogunsanya, the likes of Obafemi, Jeremiah Obafemi Awolowo, the likes of Benjamin. I'm calling all these names so that Nigerians will know the names of their leaders really. Benjamin Nnamdi Azikiwe, the likes of Ahmadu Bello, they all came together. The likes of even my family members, Gaius Ikobase Obaseki, the likes of those persons sat down. The likes of Odumegu Ojukwu, not Emeka, I mean his father. The likes of Mogongo Okoye, the likes of Arthur Prest, the likes of, they came together, they sat down and negotiated a nation. In 1963, just before Nigeria became a republic, they sat down again and looked at that constitution that was written by the British, looked at the shortcomings and said, no, we have to do this way. We have to do the revenue allocation this way. This is the 50, 30, 20. This is how it's going to be done. The state or the regions should keep 50%, like it's done everywhere in the world, of their originating resources. Why 30% is put in the federal federation account to be shared pro rata according to demography and spread? Why 20% goes to the federal government? This we sat down, they negotiated their continued involvement in the nation called Nigeria. Now, ever since the midnight of January 15th, 1966, when Major Kaduna Chukwuma Onzeogu and his five majors decided to overthrow the government. Nigerians are not even aware the reasons that those young men preferred for coming to overthrow that government, because we are bereft of the benefits of history. Nigeria was burning for 3 years on end, to the extent that the whole Western Nigeria, which is today the 6 states of Lagos, Oyo, Ogun, Osun, Ondo, and Ekiti, we are burning. The premier of the Western region, his name was Ladoke Akintola, and his vice premier, who is the father of Femi Fani Kayode, his name was Fani Kayode, aka Fani Power, had an alliance with the Northern People's Congress of Ahmadu Bello and Tafawa Balewa. And made it clear. They even made a declaration. I still remember the declaration of Fani Kayode. I'm a student of history, where he said they may win the election, but we will win the government. That is, they lost the election and were declared winners. So as a result, people went into the streets and burned the western part of Nigeria. Every day, they call it Operation Wet Here. They will wet you with petrol and set you ablaze. To the extent that the Ahmadu Bello, the Tafawa Balewa-led federal government had to declare a state of emergency and put in place an administrator for Western Nigeria. That was what led to the coup. And in that coup that took place, the boys were not fighting to rule. They did not rule. They did not take over and declare themselves heads of state. But after killing who they killed, which was wrong, any forceful removal of any democratically elected polity, no matter how bad, can never, ever be justified. But in the process of that, a Nigerian man was the head of an Igbo man, Aguiyi Ironsi. His name was James Johnson Umunakwe Aguiyi Ironsi. Was the commander, or the supreme commander of the Nigerian Armed Forces as at that time. And he had just returned from leading the United Nations peacekeeping effort in Belgium, Congo, after the death of the Prime Minister, Patrice Lumumba. Now, as a result of that, he was handed over the government. Nigeria for 24 hours had no ruler. Between January 15, 1966 and January 16, 1966, when the highest person left in government, the Senate President, Dr. Nwafor Orizu, was now forced to hand over to General Aguiyi Ironsi. And that was where the whole problem started. And Nigeria has not recovered from that problem to date. Unless Nigerians are called in a constituent assembly or in a sovereign national conference and say, sit down, let's look at this constitution. Sit down, let's look at this nation state. Sit down, let's negotiate tit for tat. You take, I give. Yorubas call me Bumi, Umbo. You give me, I give you. And as a result of that, you will negotiate a paradigm of engagement. Now, anytime the Scottish are angry, they will say, we want to do a referendum.
Yeah.
We want to do a referendum. A referendum is done, is defeated. The United Kingdom knows Scotland can't leave. But the moment a referendum is done and the referendum succeeds, Scotland leaves. So no blood is shed. Nobody is angry because there is an agreement of the persons who are representative of their people in deciding to be part of or not to be part of the United Kingdom. Brexit is a lesson in negotiation and upholding the wills of the people. Almost all of us who live or who have been to the United Kingdom, if you live in the big cities in Birmingham, in Liverpool, in Manchester, in London, nobody wanted Brexit, but the people spoke. And you must listen to the people when they have spoken. So Nigeria, the people have never spoken. We have never been involved in the creation, apart from in August 1963, when the Midwest region was created as a result of a referendum or a plebiscite, which came up with 89.1%, saying, yes, we want to create the Midwest region. It had never happened again. But in 1966 Constitution, all the ethnic nationalities, those who were in the Benue Plateau, were led by the Middle Belt Congress leader. His name was Dr. Joseph Taka. The Talakawas of the North, the Hausas, were led by no other person by, what's his name again? By Malam Aminu Khan, who was leader of the Northern Elements Progressive Union. And the Southerners were led either by the NCNC, National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, or later National Council of Nigerian Citizens. And they agree. When we were going into independence, people don't realize that Nigeria, as of 1959, included southern part of Cameroon, the English-speaking part of Cameroon. We don't realize that the Mumbi Plateau, the areas of Gongola, the areas of what you now call Adamawa State, the Mubi area, which also includes some of the areas with that Atiku is from, we are not part of Nigeria. They were part of the Cameroons, the British Cameroons. But due to a plebiscite, a referendum, the people voted, no, we don't want to go into independence with Cameroon. We want to be in Nigeria. And those from southern Cameroon who speak the same language with people in Akwa Ibom and people in Calabar, the Bakassi people said, no, we want to be in Cameroon. You see, that is the will of the people. And the people were left to move. But ever since in Nigeria, we were 4 regions when the military came into power. Midwest region in Benin, western region in Ibadan, eastern region in Enugu, and northern region in Kaduna. By May 1967, Lieutenant Colonel, later General Yakubu Jack Gowon, just created by fiat 12 states. You don't ask anybody. On the 3rd of February 1976, Murtala Muhammad split the 12 states and created 19 states. You don't ask anybody. So, are you getting my point? In 1987, sorry, Babangida added 2 more states. He created Katsina and created Akwa Ibom. He didn't ask anybody. We didn't vote. We weren't asked. And that was making Nigeria 21 states. A couple of years later, in 1990, he made it 30 states. He didn't ask anybody. And to celebrate Nigeria at 36, Abacha decided to split it on the day Nigeria was 36. He announced 36 states, as if 1 state for 1 year of nationhood. And that is where we are today. So you have states that are less than local government areas in some places. You have Yobe State, you have places. When I was a young man in the 80s, after my youth service, I was in areas in Kano and whatever. There was no single secondary school in Hadeja, and they made in Dutse, which is now the capital of Jigawa State. When I was arrested by Abacha to be in a place called in the old Borno State near Potiskum, they call it Gashua. I was in Gashua prison. There was no Yobe State, and the whole place was derelict, desolate. So today, what we have is a nation of brigands ruled by siren crazy dictators. So outside of the structural defect of the Nigerian nation, a bigger problem is the issue of our leadership selection processes. So Pedro Obaseki, I can never be allowed to be governor. I will not be allowed to be House of Rep. I will not be allowed to be a senator or anything like that, because we are a nation that has resolved to put only its worst foot forward. So we have a nation where we have the best brains on earth of black descent. No black man, no book past Nigerian man. And yet, until Yaradua came into office in 2007, no Nigerian leader had ever visited the 4 walls of a university until Yaradua. So we have a nation where persons who cannot use a mouse is president, and a professor of law is his vice. That is a nation we are in. We have a nation where a president did not know that 15 to 18 years before he became president, there was no longer a country known as Western Germany. Western Germany was dismantled in 1991, and our president in 2015, 1991, 2001, 2011, 24 years later, he calls Angela Merkel the Chancellor of West Germany. That is the nation we are in. We are in a nation where the worst of us rule over and lord over the best and the rest of us. And unless that is systemic, that's why I use the word systemically deconstructed, so that you can now decide to read, because I love being Nigerian. You know, there's a Nigerianness, a Nigerian gragra. You know, I walk into the Heathrow Airport and I feel I own the world. Nigerians walk into a nightclub in Ghana, and we are looking at all the women, and we are saying, hey, okay, fine. We don't even know the woman, but we are not scared of approaching anybody. Nigerians, but that is a Nigerianness that is being created by the fallouts of our desperation, of our despication. You walk into a London hospital, and almost all the great doctors in that hospital are of Asian descent, Indian or Pakistani. But if that man is dark-skinned and there are 10 of them, 9.5 will be Nigerians. So if Nigerians are smart enough to keep lives, run people in the United States and the United Kingdom, but here at home, we are scared. We are not involved because the leadership selection process does not allow anyone who happens to have his head tightly screwed on to be involved in the political process. So we are ruled by a siren crazy dictatorship, where our musicians will carry microphones and start singing. I go tell MC Oluomo, I go report a lot. So you want to report situations in Nigeria, you will report it to MC Oluomo, who is an Agbero. So I cannot be saddled and pushed down by a motor park democracy. There must be a systemic, that is, we will look at the politics, we will look at the education sector, we will look at everything. We are in Nigeria where my daughter will score 290 over 400, score 70% in an exam taken by someone or his peers, and you will tell her that she cannot enter the university because there is quota system. But because someone is from some place which may be described as educationally disadvantaged, enshrined, and that person has 110, which is less than 30% over 100. My daughter, who has 75%, will not get into university. So based on a badly skewed system, my daughter and her daughter and their daughters yet unborn will suffer the how will I put it? Will suffer the misfortune of a badly screwed structure. That must change. Let me go back quickly before your next question. Don't be offended. So I don't just enter my head. As a literature student at in the secondary school and university, all of us who read, if you read theater arts, English and literature, literary studies, classics, you will come across a work written by Wole Soyinka. He wrote that work in 1959 as Nigeria was preparing for independence. And that work he wrote was titled A Dance of the Forest. Now, in that Dance of the Forest, he
network. Right. As usual, the network is interfering. But in the meantime, let me quickly recognize Tunji Big Samofei, Glory Grace Shannon, Rahina Bello. Welcome, you guys. Tito Akbeti. Please go ahead. Princess Ivy Osawe, welcome.
In that very play he wrote in 1959, he declared that Nigeria will be a nation born dead. In fact, the line that sticks to my head is just a one-liner. I will be born dead.
Wow.
And that is where we are today. Years later, the same Soyinka described those of his age, who are still those in power. He described them as a wasted generation. But he said that in the 80s. Now, almost 50 years later, 40-something years later, they are still the ones ruling us. The young ones are like a race emasculated even before they were born. We are in a nation where octogenarians, septuagenarians are in charge. We are in a nation where Buhari, I'm sorry I have to mention Mr. President's name, submits the name of his Minister for Agric, Audu Ogbe, to become Minister for Agric. Meanwhile, Audu Ogbe was a minister during the time of Shagari in 1979. And in that time, Dr. Olushola Abubakar Saraki, the Senate Majority Leader, was the one that screened him. Now, down the line, in 2015, the same Audu Ogbe, 79, 89, 99, 2009, now 30, almost 40 years later, the son of Olushola Abubakar Saraki is now Senate President. He sits and also screens the same Audu Ogbe for the same position of minister. And then the youth are on their own space, looking for the next bottle of Alomo, the next bottle of the next whatever of Paraga, or taking Tramadol or Benylin with codeine, thinking that they are being emasculated. Now they forget that the biggest problem Nigeria has had was to fight a civil war. And it was fought by a man who was a bachelor, who did not have a wife when he became president. Lieutenant Colonel Jack Yakubu Gowon became president before he was 32 in this country. Now, in 1975, a man known as Lieutenant Colonel Muhammadu Buhari was appointed military governor of Northeastern State. It was the largest state in Nigeria at that time. The Northeastern State that time is today's Borno State, Adamawa State, Jigawa State, Borno State, Adamawa State, Taraba State, Yobe State, Gombe State, and Bauchi State. He was a governor of 6 states today, but he was barely in his 30s or early 40s. He became president of Nigeria in 1983, December 31st, and he's back again. He's 78 or 79 now, he's still ruling. We are in a nation where it is written on our statutes that once you are 60, you are too old to take over or look after the affairs of a small office. So they will say you should go and retire. But we will elect a person who is meant to retire at 60 to be president of Nigeria at 75, when he will be too tired to even know whether we have a problem. So there is a problem in this country, and we have to structurally deconstruct Nigeria so that we can reconstruct it if we so desire. Nigeria cannot be a nation.
So I'm going to take quick reads. I can see the network is interfering again.
Living by force.
Right.
We are in a forced marriage right now. Abusive. We are a nation in an abusive relationship.
I agree with you totally. That's my line of thought as well. Let me quickly take reads from contributions from Facebook and YouTube. Tito Akpeti says, a very incisive analysis and a detribalized approach to structure and governance of a very complex contraption like Nigeria. Your knowledge of our history is overwhelming. That's what Tito Akpeti has to say. And Glory Grace Shenan says, I agree with the host. Only a detribalized nation can rule, and even more successfully. Education is also marred by nepotism and bureaucracy, not to mention other decayed sectors. Our nation is too powerful to be dissected by religion, nepotism, status, and other selfish vices. We can still forge ahead, I think she's supposed to write. I want to ask you, look at the present situation, security challenges, and the political imbalance, and all the challenges that we face right now, and give your prognosis of the Nigerian situation at the moment.
Prognostifying Nigeria is an exercise in futility. I keep telling people that we cannot change. You know why? The security infrastructure of Nigeria, the security architecture of Nigeria is enshrined in one of the, they call it exclusive list of the government, whereby Nigeria is the only federation on planet Earth where, when I use the word security, you know, there are 2 kinds. There's internal security, there's external security. So in the United Kingdom, when it is external security, they will bring in the MI5 or bring in the MI6, or they will bring in the army or the navy. But when it is internal security, the mayor of London is in charge of the Metropolitan Police. So a policeman in Birmingham will not have jurisdiction over a crime that takes place in Barking or in Surrey Keys or somewhere in Nottinghamshire. That is how it is. In the United States, just like in Great Britain, because we cannot run from Great Britain and the United States. We practice the political arrangement of one, and we were colonized by the other. So we are a bet of either the UK or the USA. And when Nigerians speak English, we are either speaking Queen's English or we are speaking slang, which is speaking American English. You know, we got one.
Always
So we mix both together with, and then, you know, so we are that. But in the United Kingdom, just like in the United States, there is the federal police. They may not just call it police. So the Federal Bureau of Investigation has items that are dedicated to it. So when it comes to do with insurrection, with cross-border crimes, with kidnapping, you bring in the FBI. But for local policing, for local burglaries, you are either going to be the state police, which is in charge of traffic, or the city police, or the county, or the borough. And that is how it's supposed to be. But in Nigeria, where I said there is a structural problem even in the security sector, is the Nigerian constitution says the governor of a state is the chief security officer of that state. But however, the governor of that state has no right whatsoever to even direct the commissioner of police. So if the governor of the state calls a meeting, the commissioner of police can decide not to attend. He reports to the Federal Inspector General of Police, who is in Abuja. Now, a crime is committed in Ilolobo in Delta State, or a crime. Susan, where are you from originally in Nigeria?
Rivers State, Rivers.
Okay, let's look at it now from Rivers. Somebody commits a crime in Bukuma or in Degema, or somebody commits a crime in Abonima, and then the commissioner of police is brought in from Kaura Namuda to be the commissioner of police over persons in Ikwere land or persons in Ekpeye. He doesn't speak any of the languages. He doesn't know the terrain. He doesn't know the people. Whether we like it or not, there is a psychosomatic difference between a man who grew up in the background of the riverine areas, who knows the creeks and handles the boat like paddling a child or cradling a child, and someone who was brought up in the desert semi-arid areas of Kontagora, and you make a man from Kontagora to be in charge of neighborhood and local security in places like Degema or Abonima. It will not work. That is the problem Nigeria faces. It is a systemic problem. So until Nigeria sits down and looks at those 100 and something items on the exclusive list and then decides to take that out and make security like it is in every civilized clime, Nigeria will not be secure. Forget about Boko Haram. I told somebody once that the Boko Haram situation in Nigeria has shown that the Nigerian army that cannot defeat an illiterate Boko Haram since 2010. 2010. That is, we've been fighting Boko Haram by the grace of God for 11 years. Boko Haram started in the time of Yaradua. He's dead and gone. May he so rest in peace. Jonathan Kane spent 5.5 years, couldn't solve it. This man is here now. He's spending his 7th year or 6th year. He haven't solved it. Nigerians are dying by the drove, simply because of the insensitivity of the wealthy and the political elite, who are only interested in how to continue to aggregate their own commonwealth, our commonwealth, to their own personal benefit. So in terms of security, I don't prefer anything but a recourse to the very foundation, so that that foundation, when it is taken down, you devolve the police. It's called devolution of power. We agree that, okay, when it comes to federal crimes, a crime that takes place between Kogi and Edo State, it should be a federal offense. But for you to talk about policing in my neighborhood, taking care of villages, and it should be a local affair. Every security is local. Now, let me give you a very graphic example of how local security are taking place in Nigeria, but Nigeria did not change in spite of that lesson. In 1986, a set of young bandits took over the old Bende state, that is now Edo and Delta. Yeah. They will rob from Asaba to Bini and to Ueli with ignominy. So Babangida actually declared then that there was a new republic within Nigeria in Bendel, and it was known as Lawrence Anini. Now, in the Anini saga, it was a saga of Robin Hood. The people in the locality started seeing Anini as some sort of Robin Hood who was stealing from the rich and spreading the money in the marketplaces. Babangida appointed Mr. Pari Osayande, a Bini man, who was then the Deputy Inspector General of Police. And I tell you, in 4 weeks, Anini was brought to book, Anini was caught, because the people were now seeing that the policer or the policeman, the chaser, was not somebody who was chasing their son.
Right.
Because if I pursue somebody to your house, and I'm an Edo man, and we are in Ekiti, or Ikare Ekiti, or Yekiti, I pursue an Oye Ekiti man into your house with a gun, your first reaction as an Ekiti man is to protect your Ekiti kinsman.
Yes.
But if an Ekiti man pursues another Ekiti man into your house and say that Ekiti man is a thief, you will arrest him with him.
Yes.
All security is local. But Nigeria's own is the way it is, so as to continue to perpetrate the hegemony of a certain sector or of a certain minority tribe over the larger polity. Every southern Nigerian thinks every northerner is Hausa Fulani. Is a lie. There are more tribes, minority tribes in the north of Nigeria than the whole southern Nigerian put together. There are almost 37 different distinct ethnic nationalities in Ola Adamawa state alone. They don't even understand each other. People don't realize that in Kaduna state, you have tribes that are not related at all. They don't even speak one line of the other. We have Kagoro, Kagoma, Kankia, Kachia. We have Saminaka, Zango, Kataf. In Kaduna state, we have Kwei. In Kaduna state, they have no relationship with one another. They are distinct ethnic nationalities. Same thing in Plateau. You have Birom, Pangshin, Lantang, Shendan. They don't relate. People don't realize that in Bauchi state, everybody, the minority is actually the Fulani. There's the Bachama. They don't realize that Tafawa Balewa is not Hausa. He's not. When you just say Boko Haram, everybody thinks, okay, the Hausa people. There is hardly a single Hausa in Boko Haram. They are Kanuris, they are Kanem Borno. They are from an area near the Lake Chad who were already Muslims in the time of Mansa Musa, who had actually gone to Mecca. May Idris Aloma, Ali Gaji, or the later parts of the house of El Kanemi had been to Mecca 150 to 200 years before Sheikh Utuma Danfodio or Sheikh Usman Danfodio moved from Futajalon in Guinea to Kubir near the present-day Sokoto. They are very different. They don't speak one line of each other. But that is the perpetration of a nation that is built on lies. And once your foundation is built on a pack of cards, with the crumbling situation we face today, with so much licentious lies being perpetrated, we all have our endearing prejudices. Somebody looks at Pedro Obaseki and says, now, Yoruba man go see me, go say Igbo. Igbo man go see me, go say Yoruba.
That is the truth.
Meanwhile, I am a very distinct ethnic nationality. I am the product of empire builders. I am a man from a tribe that had never been conquered by any other African tribe in the history of mankind until January, February 1897, when the British decided to invade Benin and massacre our people and said our killing of 7 of them was the Benin massacre. So we are a product of lies, lies perpetrated, I'm sorry, by the British. I want to quote Richard Akinjide, the former Attorney General of Nigeria under the time of Alhaji Shehu Shagari's presidency. He said, he once described that what the British did in Nigeria is a colossal fraud, unquote. So it is unbundling that fraud, that fraudulent coupling together of a man who I know has a 5-star hotel room in hellfire, Lord Lugard, that must be addressed. And it should be addressed also by the British, because their hands are on this. If not, Nigerians are dying because the colonial office wanted to continue to rape us of our resources. It is the truth. Nobody knows today that Port Harcourt, a town that was known as Iguacha, was renamed to thank Lord Harcourt, who was the secretary of the colonial office, for allowing Lord Lugard to forcefully amalgamate different countries and call them today the Niger areas, or the area of the Niger Coast Protectorate, of the what do they call it, Royal Niger Company territories.
Yeah.
Which Nigerian knows, say, if not be say some people, sorry I use, if not for a woman called Flora Shaw, we would have actually been known as Central Sudan.
But on a Valentine's Day, I suppose, she gave.
Okay, that is a gift to us. But if not for that woman,
so much love
Nigeria is known today as the country of Central Sudan. Now they call us. What is Sudan about the creeks of Ilologbo? What is Sudan about Focados, Escravos? What is Sudan about the backyards of Topo or Tokbodo in Badagry? What is Sudan about Bakassi? What is Sudan about Eket, Oron, Ikotek, Benekota Abasi? What is Sudan about Arochuku, Imunochi, Kedru? What is Sudan about the entire southern part of Nigeria that is populated by green forest? We are not the Sudan. The Sudan is Sahel.
Yes.
But Nigeria must, our leadership must sit down and reconstruct Nigeria. Nigeria can work only if we put it on the path of truth, and God will be with us. Right now, God is not with us. I'm very sorry to say. Let me quote Amadou Bello. He said, God did not create Nigeria. The British did.
Absolutely. Those were his words. And on that note, let me quickly recognize Joyce A from YouTube, watching from YouTube, I believe I have. And Tito Akbeti says, obviously there is a misrepresentation of how security should be implemented between federal and state lines. Crime occurrence is primordial at local government level, yet a federally set up police tries to curb it. An aberration, how? Should this be my last question? Maybe for today. I said, should this next question, should it be my last question? I'm not sure. But how do we begin to unbundle this fraud called?
I think, first of all, the Nigerian state must recognize that community policing or community-based policing approaches must be implemented. That the security apparatus in every part must focus on a partnership with the community and community consent and accountability. Those things are key to zero tolerance to crime, because crime fighting is based on intelligence gathering. So when those who are meant to give intelligence are seeing those who are collecting intelligence as actually a problem to them, who are not going to be responsive to local priorities, this will be a policing that is doomed to fail. That is where we are. So now most Nigerians believe that policing is politicized. Look at the inglorious thing that happened just yesterday at the Lekki toll gate. Just yesterday. So until the state governments are allowed to make provisions for the defense or the protection of lives and properties of their citizenry, Nigeria will not work. So the security network must comprise the various community vigilantes who should not, I don't believe you should, all these people that are coming up with community police. No, it has to be organized in an organogrammic way so that there will be checks and balances, so that we don't end up empowering or giving guns to rogue elements who later will turn out to be another Boko Haram. So the government must create a paradigm that will enhance, train, and establish those community vigilantes into something that will make it more effective to help join the police. And then the policing must be regionalized or localized. That is what is key. And they must also agree that there must be a deliberate chain of command that stems from the principal provider of resources for that state, who by constitution is the chief security officer of the state. You give the governors a responsibility and you take away the power to enforce that responsibility from the governors by making sure that the entire security apparatus of the state, of which they are the chief security officer, does not reside in them. It is, I use the word again, reverse osmosis. Now, section 2.1 and section 11.1 and section 11.2 of the 1999 Constitution, as bad as it is, also gives the National Assembly and the state houses of assembly concurrent powers to, I will quote it, to make laws with respect to the maintenance of security, of maintenance of securing public safety and public order, as well as providing, maintaining, and securing of such supplies and services of the people. So right now, if the Nigerian government is not allowing the devolution of the police, the state governments have a right under section 11.1 and section 11.2 of this very badly skewed, cobbled together 1999 contraption called the Constitution to even set up their own. The only thing is you may not just call it police. The word police is a problem. That is what seems to tickle their in Edo State today, my sister, where I come from, where I live, where I'm talking to you from, we are raised under siege. The videos are all over the place. I hide my children. December this year, I had to run away with my children so that they don't even kill me or kill my, those who can't get me, they may go up. I may be smart, I may be this, but I have a 4-year-old son. Each day, my daughter is at the Edo State Ambosali University in Ekpoma. That road between Benin and Ekpoma now, they label it the Valley of Death. Unless the security challenges of Nigeria is addressed like a cancer, Nigeria will be the victim. When I say Nigeria as it is presently known today will be the victim of this very faulty federal structure.
Right.
And I pray that Mr. Muhammadu Buhari, former General Muhammadu Buhari, will not just be the last president of Nigeria as we so presently know it, because he has to rise to the occasion. Leadership is not by force. And any leader that does not dispense hope is a failure. A leader must be a dealer in hope. Even when things are down. Look at Boris Johnson. with his disheveled hair. When you look at the man with his disheveled strawy hair, you remember that this man just suffered COVID-19. So when he's talking, he survived it. He is a survivor. So dislike him as you may, when he's coming up with all his lockdowns and on shorty over lockdowns, whether to do partial lockdown, reduce lockdown, one day lockdown, you will relax a little and say, hey, I heard about COVID-19, but I ain't got it. But this guy who's talking to me, he's got it. He got it once upon a time. He knows it. But I don't even see my president on TV. He ain't said no words to me. I don't know how he thinks. I don't even know how he really looks. And then you come to me once upon a time, once a year, to give me a badly edited Bolekaja video, and you tell me his life. You are telling Pedro, a system videographer who helped build Nollywood, a broadcaster, power salons, that what I'm looking at is live, and I'm seeing serial jump cuts. The president just has to up his game. I'm sorry. Right now, if we score over 100, the president ain't going to score 20. I don't even know where the 20 is coming from. I'm just being magnanimous.
No, 20 is too much. Sorry, I'm not a politician, so I have the liberty to express the way I feel.
You have to be political now. I was listening to a young man. Let me just say, I was listening to a young man. He said when they tell them what course do they do in school, everybody wants to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. If a doctor makes a mistake, he kills one patient. If a lawyer makes a mistake or a sense of judgment, he sends one or two innocent persons to jail. If an engineer makes a structural defect, he collapses a building, now maybe 50, 100 people. But once a mistake is made by the politician, hundreds of Nigerians are dying.
And that's what's
because
happening.
Of the, yes. So we are up. I am political. All my degrees, I'll trash them. You know what just happened?
NEPA.
NEPA. Welcome to Nigeria.
We can still see you a little bit. I'm just going to do a quick take of some of the comments.
Sorry, my inverter just came on.
No, I'm just going to take a quick read of some of the comments, and I'll ask final question for today. Joy Tunji Big Sam has asked this question twice. I forgot to take it the first time. What is Don doing to support prison reform in Nigeria, having been a political prisoner who have experienced the hell in there?
Don't go there. Jesus Christ. You see, I think even the political prisoners in Nigeria, it's better to be a condemned prisoner in Nigeria than to be awaiting trial.
Wow.
When they put you on awaiting trial, you are just a notch below animal. I'm not saying you are just a notch above animal. The Nigerian prison system is the most Gestapo nearest to Hitler's concentration camp. I don't even want to talk about that because I will stop being methodical. I will stop being reasonable. I will become unnecessarily emotional. And I'm a man of reason, so I try not to be emotional. I keep saying that unless the whole system is overhauled, which prison reform will be part of it, the Nigerian Interior Ministry setup is a disgrace. I hope you know it's the same ministry that takes care of the prison, that takes care of custom and excise, that takes care of immigration. In Nigeria, those three arms, those three paramilitary arms are an injury to this country. When you look at the Apapa Wharf and what the Custom and Excise Department has done to the collective will of this country, you will weep. If you walk into Imoitla Mohammed, I think it's a little better now in Abuja. and you see your confrontation with the Nigerian Immigration Service, you will weep. I will step down at Terminal 5 in Heathrow. Every British will just walk in, welcome home. In Nigeria, it is a Nigerian with a green passport that will line up under the heat.
Yes.
So if you see that, you can now begin to understand what their counterparts who are sister agencies in that same ministry does to prisoners, particularly those who are yet to be sentenced. Once you are sentenced, they see you as an asset to them in the prison because they can leash you. They will put a tax on you. You will pay for everything. Meanwhile, they get billions of allocation. Wow. The toilet facilities are the craziest on planet Earth. And if you are awaiting trial, you eat where you poo where you eat. And the only thing I know, even my dogs, Venus and Serena, they refuse to eat where they poo. So prison reforms should be, in short, Nigeria should actually call a referendum on the state of the Nigerian prisons. Nigerians are not bothered because they're saying a prisoner. Because for us, prison is not corrective. Prison is punitive.
Punitive, yes.
Unless we begin to see that is a correctional institution. They've changed the name now. But Nigeria, when they change names, it's usually cosmetic, wallpapering the decay that back ends the entire infrastructure. So the Nigerian prison service is one of the sore points of this nation. It's not caused by Buhari. It's been there because I wasn't arrested under Buhari. I was arrested under Abacha.
Right.
And that was in 1994, 95. That's a long donkey time. My children don't even know that Pedro. Oh. You know, the Rudio Kudirats and fighting around and Sergeant Rogers and all the rubbish. But we thank God we are here today.
What a story you have to tell. I thought that was going to be my last question, but I'm going to ask a last question after taking this read from Theodora Igwe from YouTube. Says, wow, so enlightening. She also goes ahead to say, these are the people that should be in power, people who know our history and have the best of Nigeria at heart. And then
they're not going to agree. They're not going to agree. Forget. I have no illusions over that.
Right.
I have no illusions. Yes.
Right. Joyce A says, so what is the solution? Which brings me to asking, you have profiled or you have analyzed greatly about the security solutions to the Nigerian situation, security challenges. But generally speaking, how does Nigeria move forward? What are the solutions to building, like generally speaking, taking all the facets that build the fabric of Nigeria? What is the way forward for nationhood, to achieve nationhood, basically?
I think the thing has actually started. A couple of days ago, I was talking with one of my senior bros, who was up to my leader when I was in university. His name is, many of you know him. His name is Dede Mabiaku. And we were reminiscing on what we used to do when we were in university, even while he was on stage singing, then singing fella and singing stuff. We always come back to sending one social message. And so I tell myself, it is time to move. So we move.
We move.
But my move is make our voices emerge. We have to make our voices emerge now, so as to effect a paradigm shift of seismic proportions on the Nigerian nation. The youth must not stop, because they must effect a generational change in the governance ethos and in the political landscape of this country. All of them should go and get voters' cards. Then Nigeria, I have an argument for a refederalization. I don't want when they use restructure Nigeria. I say no, refederalize Nigeria. Make Nigeria be that federation that once upon a time was negotiated by its own leaders. And so doing, a new Nigeria is possible. But not necessarily by those same old leaders, but by the new face of Nigeria. I am not a fan of Showore, but there have to be many men like Showore standing up to be counted. There must be men who will not be the they think they are the stooges, but they're actually the victims of
Mm.
some of these persons who presently are benefiting from the parlor state of the Nigerian Federation.
Sorry,
They're
I don't.
using that.
Sorry, I don't want to
Yes.
interject. Just so that you don't forget what you want to say, but I just want you to clarify
Mhm.
the difference between restructuring and what was it you said?
Refederalization.
Federalization. What is the difference?
You see, I tried to create a different. There's a professor of mine, a friend of mine, some 3 years ago or 4 years ago when we were when I was made the president of the Midwest movement, and he came up. It is here I borrowed that word from. Refederalize. You know, Nigeria was a federation, but in January to July 1966, Aguirre Ronsi declared Nigeria a unitary state, which means it is no longer federal. Everything will be central, which was not what the founding fathers agreed to.
Right.
So now that is where Nigeria started going downhill. So you want to create states before now, the whole states will sit down, they will agree a date of the referendum, a vote will be passed, it will done, then the people will create that unit. But after that, in 1967, Gowon just created 12. And once he created 12 and it was unchallenged, no, power is not given, power is taken. And according to Raymond Dokbesi, he said power unchallenged is legitimate. So the moment it wasn't challenged, it became a new norm. Now, when you say let's refederalize, let's take Nigeria back to its federation, where there was a fiscal as in FISCAL, fiscal, that is financial federalism, political federalism, educational federalism, infrastructural federalism. Now, as at that time, the University of Ibadan was created by the British as the University College Ibadan, which was a college of the University of London in 1948. But Awolowo created University of Ife. Nnamdi Azikiwe created University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Obamudia created University of Benin. Ahmadu Bello created University of Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria or Kaduna. Now, as at that time, education was not in that concurrent list. Now look at the United Kingdom. Scotland is taking care of its education. So if you are in Scotland and you are in education, you don't need to pay. But if you are English and you come into Scotland, you pay.
Right.
And there is no problem because that is devolved. So there is a devolution of power among the four federating countries, or to use your word, home countries of the United Kingdom. So in the United States of America, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has absolutely nothing to do with the devolved powers of the state of California. So California, in spite of the fact that it is a state in the United States of America, is the world's fifth largest economy, larger than the economy of Great Britain. You don't take from California to feed Nebraska or feed Ohio or feed Idaho or feed Wyoming or feed any others or Mississippi. Right. But there are certain federal paradigms that the state governors cannot make a decision over. They cannot take decisions over. When it is things to do with federal policies, defense, foreign relations, it is the singular purview of the federal government. Now, the government pay taxes, the state government pay taxes fixed to the federal. That is how Washington is funded. That is how some of the oils in North Sea, in spite of the fact that they are on the coasts of Scotland or in Aberdeen, is funding the activities of Whitehall or of 10 Downing Street. That is how it works. But Nigeria works via reverse osmosis. In Nigeria, the federal government that does not generate any revenue is allocating what it doesn't generate. You are sharing what you don't have. Absolutely. So you take from us in Ilolobo, you take from me in Obe, you take from a man in Degema, you take from a man backyard is polluted in brass. There is no single roads to those places. There is no single road to OD. And you use it to make sure that everybody in Karanamuda is riding on brand whatever. You take Lagos, that makes the largest collection of money on value-added tax on alcohol. You take Lagos and you don't allow Lagos to get a sizable amount of that money is so collect. And then you come to my people, when we bring the 97% or 87% of Nigeria's wealth, you give us 13% derivation. Derivation of what? So there must be a systemic arrangement. And the only way is simple: sincerity. It happened in 2014. They called it the National Confab. Jonathan called that confab, but unfortunately, it seemed that Jonathan did not have enough, how will you put it, political will
Yes.
to make that happen. Sorry, I'm not using my phone line. Sorry. God bless Nigeria. Tell me how I will be sane in this kind of insane environment. Tell me how Edo State, for example, that generates almost a third of a quarter, Edo and Delta, a quarter of the total consumable power in Nigeria, we move forward when there is no devolution of the power sector. Now, when you are in my place, I used to stay in Barken, just across the River Thames. I see the nuclear plant there that provides electricity for Greater London. They don't share that same electricity to Scotland or to Aberdeen or to Inverness or take it to Cardiff or Wales. In Nigeria, you will generate power to Gorode in Saple. All Nigerians don't know, when you are driving along the highway, there are usually two massive high tension. The big one is going to Osogbo. The small one is returning to Osogbo, is returning from Osogbo. So, Ogorode Saple or the Azura plant in Benin or the one in Osiomo, we generate power, and the entire power is first of all taken to Osogbo. Meanwhile, in the transportation of energy, particularly electronic energy, you will lose 22% of it in the transportation. So once 100 kilowatts, for example, is taken from Ogorode in Saple in Delta State, or is taken from Azura in Benin, only 78% will get to Osogbo. When they are now sending it back from Osogbo, only another, out of that 78, another 22% will be lost in transit. So by the time it gets to the consumers in the house, only 50 something, 50, 40, 22, 40, 44, only 100 minus 44, only 56% of the generated energy will get to its place. We are in trouble.
What is, just out of curiosity,
what is wrong with Nigeria? Now you want to talk?
Like, why? Like, it's so daft. Why?
I think because many people benefit from the parlor state of things. Wickedness in high places. You know, evil men live amongst us. They work the day and they stalk the night. And until Nigerians stand up to be counted like these young people are doing, will be in race on his knees. And we will never move. All we are finding in Nigeria is so much motion and no movement. And by the time those of us who are fighting to change things also get into government, even though the few of the younger ones who get there, I'm not a youth, I'm 50 plus, not 52, and you cannot call me youth. But in this country, I'm such a youth because those who are in charge are the president of Nigeria was a military governor in Nigeria when I was in primary school. 75, I was just less than 6 years old, 7 years old. And today I'm 52, going on 53. He's still the president of Nigeria.
Cradle snatching.
Yes, they've arrested the development of an entire generation, and they are emasculating the coming ones unless they do something and do something fast.
Right.
To sit down and do nothing is to cripple fast. Nigeria is, I used the word last week on my status. I said Nigeria is dead. We are just awaiting an undertaker. And I said, who shall tell Mr. President that he is superintending over a bleeding nation, a nation that is bleeding, that is hemorrhaging from the jugular. It's like just taking your wrist and slitting it. And then you begin to live in perpetual denial that although you are bleeding, some Deus ex machina, a miracle will just come. We are a nation that believes in an abundant faith in miracles. We just come and something will happen. Nothing will happen. Nigeria is just dying daily. And those who are in charge are only thinking about the arithmetic of the pay pocket. And it is sad.
Sad indeed. Dalio Giang Dudu Jr. says, ninth level selfishness. Oh, ninth level selfishness.
Level 9 selfishness. Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna let you run off. Just talk generally to the youth of Nigeria, the young people of Nigeria and on the continent of Africa on how to take their future in their own hands.
When I was a young man, at the age of 16, a 100-level student at the University of Benin, I joined my friends who were involved in NAS, National Association of Nigerian Students. I know you remember that song by Fela Nicola Kokuti, now Chris Mambi, that animal and human skin.
Yes.
He said the key 9 students for Zaria and Ife, they not do nothing. I was there.
Oh,
and that shaped, yes, ma'am. We had driven from, I was one of the Unibank delegation then. We had driven to the University of Ibadan where we were supposed to be holding that meeting. Then the armored tanks came, so we relocated. I think the young man who was president of NANS was a young man called Arogundade, And one of my classmates in the university, his name was Sheyi Odunjo. Sheyi Odunjo had actually told me when I was just entering school, I was wondering why this man who was in almost 30 was in my class and I was barely 16. And he told me that he was rusticated years before. He was the vice president of NONS, National Union of Nigerian Students. And he was the vice president to Segun Okeowo, whose NONS was proscribed by, I think it was by the then military administration or military dictatorship of General Olusegun Obasanjo. Now that began to shape me. Then when we got into school, myself and a few, Sam Achibis, an actor now and a lecturer at the University of Port Harcourt, we formed a Marxist movement. And we were listening to the ideologies of the likes of Tunde Fatunde and the likes of Dede Mabiaku. Dede is very important to me as a human being and me as a human animal. Those paradigms have shifted. We weren't bothered about the next take-home pay because as at that time, our take-home pay couldn't take us home. We weren't bothered. We were more interested. All the activism. I remember when we stood on the beachhead of Morocco. I even wrote a play, the Morocco saga, Sunset in the Lagoon, on the destruction of Morocco and the rendering homeless by the military dictatorship of 300,000 inhabitants. I still remember the likes of Olisa Agbekoba, who set up for us then CLO, Civil Liberties Organization, of which I was an executive director as a young boy in my 20s. Now, the boys in their 20s are mommy's boys, sitting home, becoming lapdogs, waiting for the next paycheck. They don't even wait for the paycheck, waiting for the next Yahoo to drop, make Mbada fall. That will not change the narrative. As a young man growing up, we suddenly realized we have to move out of Nigeria. All my friends and close away, all my friends here in Dallas, everybody, they headed out of Nigeria because Nigeria became all of a sudden a place that was under pressure cooker situations. And we called it brain drain. Now the brains are not being drained. The humanities are being killed. They've turned our backyards into homes for serial killers. They've turned our young people into people who are totally emasculated from their space. Power is not given. Young man, power is taken. And when that power is unchallenged, it's legitimate. When you get up to say you want to support a younger candidate, and you start in the morning and you do it on social media, you don't have a voter's card, you already disenfranchise yourself even before the process begins. Join a political party. That is the truth. You cannot influence the system when you are outside of it. You cannot be, you are a stranger. When it's time to rise, don't do it on Instagram. Because if Nigeria falls apart today, the first thing that will go is communication. People don't even know. It's a strategy of war. So once there is going to be wahala, they will take away your internet. That is the truth. So unless you are able to build capacity of self, don't be concerned about why is he him, why is it not me. Let the paradigm of the us take over the paradigm of the I, so that the first person becomes a slave to the third person. The collective ownership of space is the only way the individual can thrive. Once you allow them to continue to give you 1,000 naira on the queue, you will sell your birthright for 4 bottles of beer. That is just the truth. I don't feel sorry for our youth unless they feel sorry for themselves. Only you can tell that your mouth smells. A friend, I'm being your friend. An enemy will tell someone else. If I'm a friend to Susan West, I say, Susan, this toothpaste, your mouth smells. Even if she's upset. But an enemy will say, see Susan, her mouth smells. So that is it. The youth must come together. You must move. You must make your voices emerge from the cacophony of your immediate past. You should not support anybody in his 60s to rule this country, because the Constitution and biology says that he is on the decline. In economics, we call it the law of diminishing return. You get to your peak and you begin to, and the graph changes. So if the person is becoming, 20-year-olds are not senile. Senility comes with age, and the more you age, the more senile thou shalt become. So when you have an octogenarian, a septuagenarian, that is, when you have people in their late 70s and early 80s who are ruling you in a digital age, whose mental capacity is totally analog, it cannot change. Come on, wake up and smell the coffee. Let me speak Igbo. Okay, let me speak my Bendel Igbo, my Delta Igbo. Iganishu Nigeria, Aka Ingodi. The forward movement, Itesiwaju Nigeria, it is in your hand, my hand, our hand, not their hand. The poor is the most important factor in the entrenchment of the rich in position. The rich is nothing when the poor says they are nothing. That is the truth. That is just the truth. My father used to tell us that the reason why God says only the poor will go to heaven is not because whatever you do to the least of my brethren, that you do unto me. Now, Jesus Christ, I talk that one. The rich are scared of the poor, but the poor does not understand it. When I was in secondary school, there was a novelist. They call him James Hadley Chase. James Hadley Chase had one novel that stuck in my head till today. And the title of that James Hadley Chase is Want to Stay Alive. It had a lead character called Poktoholo. Poktoholo had a quote that has stuck with me since secondary school. He said, fear is the key that unlocks the wallet of the rich.
Fear is the key that unlocks the wallet of the rich.
And once they are scared, they'll build fences, tall, gigantic prisons, and rent themselves in. they become prisoners to their own wealth. But meanwhile, when you are in the United Kingdom, you just walk out of your house and walk into the street. But in Nigeria, our rich, our political class built so much banditry fences to keep out the poor who just voted them into office. And once they get into office, they chase us around with their siren crazy dictatorship. So when you enter a road with them, you just vote them enter. If you mistakenly join the road with them, the poor amongst us who are now clad in police uniforms will come out with koboko and whips and beat another poor man for the sake of one rich man who sits at the back of the SUV. And they are happy. Those who shot at people at toll gate, none of them are rich. The poor shot the poor. And that is the truth. So until the youth of today begins to realize that their future is born dead, so the only thing is to revive the present, seize the narrative, support a young person. Forget the coloration of the political parties. Even if you look at the two political parties, if you are not careful, you won't know the difference in their banners. One is green, yellow, green, red, blue, and white. The other one is green, red, and white. Just a little thing just to separate them. They are all the same. That is why the movement from one to the other amongst all of them does not matter. They are all ideologically bereft. They are ideologically deficient. And all they see is the ideology of power and how to retain it. And you who is a young man dying for one politician or the other, please take this home. After the serious war of 2015 between the PDP and the APC that took out Jonathan, the PDP chairman of the PDP national chairman, a few months later, and the leader of the APC, who was the president, their son and daughter married each other. So Ali Mudu Sharif, who was the PDP chairman in 2015, a few months after Buhari, the APC owner, became president, his son married Buhari's daughter. Case closed. So you were in there because of PDP or APC. The owner of PDP and APC, their children, they sleep for the same bed, they produce pikin when we take over from them again tomorrow. So what's that old song? Who's fooling who? I hope you just wake up and yes. So wake up, Nigeria.
Wake up, Nigeria. Wow, wow.
And do something.
Wow, it's been an eye-opener even for me, and I know for many people who have watched so far. It's been an eye-opener, educating, informative, and of course, I just want to say a very big thank you for your time. Thank you for educating us. Thank you. I can't say thank you enough. And I do hope that we're able to bring you back again to continue, of course, a different topic, but to continue to do what you do best, which is educating us as Nigerians and Africans in general. Thank you so much, Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki. God bless you.
God bless you.
Right. I know that we had a fantastic time. A lot of people didn't type because they were glued. Their ears were open to listen to every word he had to say, because I was. And if you're a young person who is a Nigerian, a young person on the African continent, you can pick a thing or two and understand that we would not be bullied into putting our tails between our legs like dogs who are scared, afraid. They tried yesterday to stop the young people from protesting at the Lekki toll gate. They might have succeeded yesterday, but it does not mean that they have won. Justice must have its day. We must continue to sensitize ourselves, the young people especially. Remember that you have the power. And like Dr. Don Pedro says, if only you know how powerful you are. The rich people are truly scared of the poor people. Poor people not necessarily the ones who are hungry and can't find food. To a great extent, poverty is relative. So you should look at yourself and understand, look at yourself and place yourself where you think you belong and begin to think in that direction, so that a lot of times we are disconnected from the realities of who we truly are or what status we truly belong, especially as Nigerians. Just because you drive a car, just because you have a good paying job, just because you live in a house, you're able to pay your rent, does that make you one of the affluent people in your society? If anything happened all of a sudden, have you got the capacity to make sure that your family doesn't fall apart, to make sure that if you lost your job today, that you have what it takes to go on for a few more months or even years? And if you're not one of those people, wake up to the reality that you're not one of the people, the rich and wealthy people we're talking about. And unfortunately, the rich and wealthy people in Nigeria, a great majority of them haven't got their monies, haven't created their wealth from genuine businesses or investments. They are rich and wealthy because they have collected our common wealth. They have taken our common wealth, and that is the anomaly we want to change. And so as young people, we have to wake up, take our future, make of our future what we want to see, and make sure that our future does not die even before we get there. Well, thank you so much for joining us. If you have joined us from YouTube, please subscribe. And when you do, press the bell button. If you're watching from Facebook, our Facebook page, please like and follow us. And of course, I know there are people watching from my wall as well. Thank you for joining us on Africa Rise with Susan West today. It has been very insightful, educating. And so I just want to say a very big thank you for everyone who was able to join. Even after this broadcast is over, please share this broadcast. There's so much more in there for us to learn. Share it with your community. Let's educate one another. Thank you. And I will see you, God willing, next weekend. All right? Until then, I must say I love you and happy Valentine's Day.